Ron Huldai became the mayor of Tel Aviv in 1998 after a long career in the Air Force, going back to dogfights in the Six-Day War. And still in office in 2023, signs indicate the 78-year-old may be around for a while yet, with elections coming later this year. He's been a largely popular figure in the city for all its development under his watch, and the major pride events this week have become an integral part of the city, even a type of holiday celebration, which is where I started as I sat down with the mayor at his office this week.
צריך להבין שכשאתה מדבר על ראש עיר,
You need to understand, when you're talking about a mayor, in general, they all talk about traffic, sewage, water. In the best cases, they talk about the educational system. At the end of the day, a city is a community of people, and at its center are values. I happily discovered that those are the values of the people living in the city. It has been the main city in Israel, the city that attracts young adults, the city of culture, and so on. As the mayor, that is something I encouraged. And one of the things I recognized early on was that the status of the gay community in Israel, and I took the Pride Parade as a city project. We opened a community center for the gay community. The city became famous and tourists started to come for the Tel Aviv Pride Parade. Here I thought we made it to a place that we don't need to talk about it as much. And then the new government happened, undermining the foundations of democracy. And we need to go back to the basics. The basic human rights, the right that no one can take from a person. These rights are being challenged today. Therefore, this parade becomes even more important. This is the real story of Tel Aviv Jaffa as the stronghold of Israel democracy.
Tel Aviv has become one of the most expensive cities in the world, and that has impact not only on residents and those commuting for work, but also on the large number of tourists drawn to the city. So I wanted to know how the mayor sees the situation and what can be done about it.
The reality of the cost of living is not unique to Tel Aviv. All Israel is dealing with the cost of living crisis. Every person living in Paris understands that in the center of Paris, everything is more expensive than in the rest of France. The same goes for Manhattan. It's happening all over the world. And even more so, when we are talking about a city that everyone wants to live in. But generally, the cost of living is not a Tel Aviv factor. The people who decided to live in the city can save money by not buying a car. They can also lower costs for services like community centers, the informal education systems, the beach services, and many other things Tel Avivians enjoy. The cost of living in Israel is still unresolved. And with the current government, it's a serious issue.
A common term that's sprung up around Israel in the last couple decades is to refer to the municipality here as the state of Tel Aviv. And I asked the mayor if he sees this as a derisive term or a compliment.
There's no such thing as a state of Tel Aviv, and there will not be a state of Tel Aviv. We influence the rest of the country. We are the center of Israel. 500,000 people live here, and 1 million people commute to Tel Aviv daily for work, travel, beach, public services, and more. We are part of this country. We also don't want to be apart from it. Inside Israel, we play an important part in what's happening today. Rabin Square has always been the square of democracy, and what's happening these days in Kaplan Street proves it. Because this is the city where you come to protest, you come to celebrate, to have fun, and to enjoy culture.
Any direction you look in this city, there are large-scale construction projects, from new office buildings to the light rail. So what's the city going to look like in the future?
In 5 years' time, Tel Aviv Jaffa will reach the level of cities in Europe in the 1990s. Today, we're in the 1950s. But in 5 years, there will be 69 train stations with 3 functioning lines all around the city. you will be able to reach any point in the city. With only one restriction that was forced on us by the State of Israel, that the lines won't be active on Saturdays. But it will change the city dramatically. Tel Aviv is not that big in size, but it is part of something bigger, the State of Israel. There are security issues on the one hand and economic problems, and a disagreement about what the country should be like on the other hand. 75 years ago, I wasn't able to predict what this country was going to look like today. So I don't know. What I do know is that every day I do everything I can to keep Israel tolerant, democratic, inclusive. The startup city of the startup nation. This is our job too, and without it, we cease to exist.
Mayor Huldai has been a prominent opponent of the new government's policies and clearly sees himself as a bulwark against the major changes afoot, pledging to preserve the city's natural character, as he describes it, and to lead us further into the unknown of the 21st century.